Hello guys, welcome to today's beginner tutorial. Today we are going to be creating a simple um, layout, and we are going to be using primarily filters. We're going to be working with blur, camera raw filter, and working with pen tool, how to use pen tool briefly, and a few other things. So first thing I'm going to do is to drag in my image. I have it on my laptop right here. So I'm going to just drag it into my workspace. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to expand it a little bit like this and press enter key to accept the change. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to, since this is smart object, I'm going to first and foremost use the camera raw filter on it to just make some parts sharper, to just make it pop a little bit. So come to filter, camera raw filter. So I'm going to increase the contrast a little, not too much. I don't want it to be too much. I'm going to bump up the highlights a bit. I want it to be more blue, so I'm going to drag this white balance towards blue direction a bit more. Uh, going to also move it a bit to the red side. Then I'm going to increase the texture, going to increase the clarity, not too much, just a little bit. So I think the highlight is too much, so I'm going to just drop it, not too much. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to add the sharpen to its sharpening, so increase the sharpening a bit. And click on OK to accept the changes I've made. So next thing I'm going to do very quickly is to create a gradient map. And I'm going to do that by clicking on this option right here and come to gradient map. So I want to use a blue gradient map. So I'm going to just click on this right here. Make sure that you are not on the mask. You can see it's currently selecting the mask. I want to select the adjustment layer itself. So make sure you are selecting the adjustment layer, not the mask. So I'll come right here and I'll come to my basic. Then it's already on this part, so I don't really need to worry too much. So I'm going to just click on this to change the color. So I want the background color right here to be a blue. So I'm going to change it from white to blue, something like this. I want to bring it down a bit. And the yellow end right here, I'm going to change it to white. It's going to be somewhere like this. Right. So having done that, click on OK. You can hide the adjustment layer. The next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to set it to lighter color like this. So the next thing I want to do is to stamp all visible layers. So in order to stamp all visible layer, I'm going to press my Control button, Alt button, Shift button, and E. But before you do that, make sure that the topmost layer is selected. So Control, Shift, Alt, and E. If you're on Mac, that would be Command, Option, Shift, and E. So you can see that it automatically creates a layer above all the other layers. Now, this particular layer, I'm going to also make it a smart object because I want to make some changes on it and I don't want it to be a destructive. I don't want them to be destructive changes. So I'm going to convert to smart objects. So having converted to smart objects, I'm going to now go to filter. I want to add a blur. So I'm going to add a blur to it. So come to your filter, click on filter, then come to blur. Under blur, click on Gaussian blur. Click on Gaussian blur. Then you can now set your blur level. So set your blur level to whatever you want it to, whatever you feel is suitable. For me, I'm going to set this to 8. So 8, click on OK. Now the next thing I'm going to do now is to add some other filter. So I'm going to come to filter, then click on filter gallery. So under this filter gallery, there are different filters that you can actually mess around with. But the one I want to work with today is glass. So I want it to have like a glass look to it. So it's currently on glass. Glass is under distort. So you just click on glass. So yeah, you would wait for it to load. So for me, I prefer this tiny lens effect. So I'm going to click on OK for that. So just click on OK when you're satisfied with how it looks. Right. So it's applied the effect. So the next thing I want to do now is to um, just briefly mask this area. So the area of the face, I want to mask it out. I don't want it to show. So right. So I'm going to first draw a rectangle on the eyes like this on the eye. And yes, my rectangle has no fill, but it's a little stroke. So I'm going to increase the stroke to from one. I'm going to increase it to a three. See how that looks. Let me check it out. So just click. Okay, so let me just make it five instead. So I'm going to click on five. I'm going to increase it to five. Right. I'm okay with that. So I'm just going to move it a little bit to this side. Right. So the next thing I'm going to do afterwards is to let me next thing I'm going to do is to use the mark key to make a selection of the same rectangle area that I've drawn. So I'll just come right there like this and draw my rectangle, mark it to over it like this. I don't want it to. So it should just cover the rectangle area alone. So make sure that you've selected the layer, the image layer that has all those effects. Then click on this mask to right, this mask option right here. So you can see that it has, this is not what I want it to do. Actually, I want this part to be the empty part and the other effects to be. So, but because of the mask I have, when you are working with a mask, any black area means that effect is not, the mask effect is not applied. It's currently not in effect, and the white area is showing where the mask is currently taking effect. So I want the inverse of this, not this. So what I'm going to do is that with the mask selected, I'm going to press Command High, either as if we are on Mac. That will be Control I on Windows. Let me just press that right now. I see that's inverse the mask. This is exactly what I want it to look like. So the next thing I'm going to do now is um to make my rectangle visible, right? Can you see? So this is what I want. This is what I want to achieve with it. Right. So the next thing I'm going to do from here is to I want this eye part to have a different color from the rest of the body. Right. So I want it to have a different color. So what I'm going to do now is to basically just select use do a selection of that eye part. So I'm going to use my pencil to do that. So let me just take my pencil. I'm just going to trace out. I'm not going to be very finicky with the tracing. I just want to show you how it's done. So click and drag. Then I'm currently holding down my Alt. That's if you're on Windows on Mac, that will be Option key to close that anchor point that I've created. Let me show you again. Let me just click, drag. So in order to close it, hold down your Alt and click this. Right. So that's basically what I'm doing right here. Click, drag, Alt. Yeah, let me just close it down. So this is just an haphazard pen using the pen to take some work. So I just wanted to um, take note of that. So the next thing I'm going to do is that this selection that I've made with my pen tool, this trace out that I've made with my pen tool, I'm going to make it into a selection. So still on the pen tool, just right click and click on make selection right here. Click on make selection. After clicking on make selection, yeah, I'm okay with my feather radius to be one, the selection. Okay, let's click on okay. Now, having clicked on okay, the next thing I'm going to do is to solid color. I'm going to come here and click on solid color to just give that part a solid color. So I don't want white. The color I want to use, let me use red for this. Let's use red for this, like this. Now, this red that I've selected, I'm going to apply a blending mode to it. So make sure you are selecting the layer. Come to your normal. I don't want to do normal. I'm going to select a blending option that makes it visible. So I'm going to use purple for this. Sorry, multiply rather. I'm going to use multiply for this. Click on multiply. Another thing I want to show you is that I don't like how, let me just hide this first so that you can see what I'm talking about. Let me hide this. So I don't like how the edges are sharp. So I want it to be faded somehow. So one way I can do that is I'll come to the mask because you can see that solid color, there's a mask on it, right? That is to say, the solid color is only confined to the area that I've traced, the selection area, right? So I want it to be a bit faded out. So one way to achieve that in Photoshop is use the feather option. So on the mask, I'm going to make sure that I feather the mask a little bit. So from here, let me just drag forward to activate the feather. So the more you drag forward, the more it's going to create the feather around. Yes. So this is something close to what I want, right? So I'm going to go back to my move to. Now let me activate the rectangle through two again. So yes, this is what I'm gunning for, right? So that is just basically it. The next thing I'm going to do with this is that I want to add more. I feel it's too bright. I feel the environment is too bright. So I want to darken this one. What I want to do is to increase the overall, to reduce the overall brightness of this, right? Of the whole background image. So what I'm going to do now is to just click on this right here, adjustment layer, just click on brightness slash contrast, right? So I want to increase the contrast a bit like that, overall contrast like that. And I'm going to also reduce the brightness. I feel it's too bright. So I'm just going to use brightness. Can you see? So I'm going to reduce the brightness like this, right? And I'm going to increase the contrast. So once you're happy with how it looks, once you're happy with how it looks, you can just close it. So the final thing I want to do is just to add a little text right here. So the whole essence of this particular one is just to show you how to use some of these things because later on, because of these tutorials, we are going to do more advanced things. So it's very important that we know our way around the software and how to get some things done. Is why we are having this particular session. So and the last thing I want to do is just to put a text. So I just come to my text tool. I'm just going to click once and I'm going to type what I want to type is focus, right? And I set it right there. Take it up. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to just move this to align with my rectangle like that. So yes, I'm okay with this. So the last thing I would do as usual is to add my texture. And I believe by now you already know how I do that. So Control, Shift, and N. Then set the mode to overlay, fill with neutral color, and click on OK. The next thing afterward is to come to filter, come to noise, come to add noise. Yes, so I can leave it on 10, okay. And yeah, set this to 50. Here we have it. I think I'm done. Yes, so this is how it looks. So yes, we have come to the end of this tutorial introducing us to you working with filters and some blending modes. In the next class, we are going to be doing some more advanced things. If you have any questions, please use the comment section and I would respond to them. And please like, share, and subscribe. Share with a beginner that you think this might be useful to until I come your way next time.